Not any old random person can buy and sell stock. You have to be licensed. You have to pass the, it's not like, I don't remember the name of the test actually. And there's different licensing requirements in different states. But you can't just, I can't just be like, I'm a stockbroker now. I'm going to buy and sell stock. You have to be licensed. So a stockbroker is a licensed person. And like 30 years ago, it was pretty much a licensed man able to buy and sell stocks, but that's not the case, anymore. Also, stockbrokers give financial advice. And this is why they have to be licensed. It's not so much that they require the licensing to be able to make the trades, but you have to be licensed in order to give somebody financial advice. That's just like the teller at the bank. If you go into the bank and you can make deposits and withdrawals and things like that with the teller, but the tellers aren't allowed to give you financial advice. If you have questions, they always tell you to go sign the sheet and wait for the person that can talk to you. That person's somehow licensed. So that's very important. And because they went through all the trouble to get licensed, they can charge a broker fee. And this is the fee that the stockbrokers charge for trades. This is usually set by whatever stock brokerage they work for. Some of the larger ones are like Merrill Lynch. Wow. I can't believe I just blanked on them. Okay, and this can be a flat fee. So like if you're making trades, it's a flat fee of like $35 per transaction or something, or it can be a commission. And the commission is the fee based off the percentage of your trade, the value of your trade. So of course, if you're making really large transactions, if your trades are $20,000 and $30,000 each time, you'd probably be better off with a brokerage that does a flat fee. Because if you're paying a percentage of like a $30,000 trade, that's a pretty large number. If you're doing really small trades, like $100 here and there, you don't want to pay a $35 or $40 flat fee. You'd rather pay a commission. So you look for the brokerage that works best with the kind of transactions that you want to make. Okay, discount brokers. There are discount brokers. They don't give advice. And they don't make decisions for you. Now, your regular broker should not be making decisions for you, typically, unless you have a type of account set up in which they do that, like some of the mutual funds, or like a mutual fund usually has a bunch of different stocks from a bunch of different company, things like that. So they might be making those kind of decisions, like trading out things like that, but for the most part they don't make decisions for you unless you've told them to. Discount brokers, though, they don't give any financial advice. They only process trades. So you tell them, I want to sell 50 shares of IBM and I want to buy 200 shares of Microsoft or something like that. You tell them exactly what you want to do. And if the guy's sitting there going, oh, bad idea, bad idea, bad idea, he's not going to say anything, though. It's not his job. It's only his job to make the trade. Whereas a regular stockbroker might go, oh no, that's not a good idea. You know, IBM has a history of doing really well, and you know, good money. You should keep your IBM stock, or you know, stuff like that. The term at the market, that just means to buy or sell stock. Buy has a U in it. So buy or sell stock, and what you do is you tell your broker to get the best available price. So maybe you want to, you know, unload some stock. But you don't have to unload it today, but so maybe in the next like week or two, you want to get the best price though. So they're going to watch the market and watch the trends and try to get you the best price possible. Limit order is this, you specify the price you want to pay. You know, you might tell your broker, I noticed that there's a trend of, you know, Kellogg's is going down. Buy me 100 shares when it hits $20. So they won't buy it at all unless it's $20. You tell them the exact price. Or, you know, you'll notice that maybe some stocks are going up. Sell that when it hits 60 bucks. So they're not going to buy or sell except for if it's the exact price that you told them. Okay, net proceeds is the amount of money you make. And that's after the broker fees are paid. So you always have to deduct the broker fees. Brokerage fees. Okay, so there's capital gains and capital losses. That doesn't include brokerage. That's sort of like your gross pay. Your gross pay is your pay before they take out all the taxes and everything. And then your net pay is when they take out the taxes. That's what the net gain is after you take out your fees. Okay, so Lee makes 2 trades through his online discount broker, WeTrade. WeTrade charges $12 per trade. Okay, so he makes 2 trades at $12 each. So that's 2 times 12, so that's $24 in fees. Okay. His first purchase was for $34.56. His second purchase is for $2,000, and then he also had broker fees. So how much money did he spend that day? He spent $5,450. Oh yeah, I wrote down the wrong line. Sorry. $4,080 total. This part right here is $5,456. Like I said, they have different prices based on how much money do you have in your account. So if you are at Tensor, if you have less than $250,000 worth of stock, your portfolio is valued less than that. If you're trading online, you pay $15 per trade, and that's, you just go in and say what you want to happen. There's no broker involved. If you do an automated telephone trade, you pay the online fee plus $9.50. And if you trade using a broker, you pay 0.5% of commission plus the online fee. And then it's a little less if your account's more. So Adriana is purchasing $7,000 worth of stock, and her current value is $11,000. So she's here. She's under, yeah, she's in this area. She's going to be up here. Okay. And she's using a broker, so she's right here. So she's got $7,000, and her commission is 0.5%. But I need to turn that into a decimal. So I'm going to take this decimal place, I'm going to move it 2 places to the left, add in 2 zeros, so it's 0.005. And then also on top of that it says plus the online fee. Well, the online fee is $15. So she's doing 7,000 times 0.005. So 7,000 times 0.005 is 35 plus 15, so her fee is $50 for that transaction. Okay, so Erin is purchasing $23,510 worth of stock, and she's paying a 1% broker fee. Okay, so first we want to find out what is that broker fee. Okay, 1% is the same thing as 0.01. So I'm going to multiply times 0.01, and I am going to get $235.10. That's her broker fee. Okay. So her total that she paid so she paid for the stock and she paid the broker fee. So she paid out $23,745.10. Okay. And then when she sold, okay, so she bought, she sold her stock for $27,300, but she paid a discount broker, so she only paid $21 for transaction. So she got, oh wait, sorry, I shouldn't add there. We subtract fees. Subtract the fees, we don't add the fees. Okay, so her proceeds then will be $27,279 after she pays the fee. Her net proceeds, or her net gain, I'm going to take that $27,279 and I'm going to subtract what she paid, and I'm going to get $3,533.90. So on this, in this area, in these transactions, she actually earned $3,000. But as you can see, if she had gone with the discount broker to begin with, she would have made $200 more, because she ended up spending this $200 right here that she didn't need to. Alright, so stock split. The number of shares changes, but the value stays the same. You can think of it the same way as if I have a $20 bill and I ask you if you have change for the $20 bill. So you give me 2 10s, right? And do you have 2 10s for this 20? And I give you the 20 and you give me the 2 10s. Nothing really changed, except now instead of 1 bill I have 2 bills. But the price, the value is the same. Well, that's what a stock split is. The number of shares changes, but the value of the total amount of shares stays the same.
So like if you get 1
Yeah. Yeah. So what happened, and I'll explain why they do that in a second. So what happens, you have what's called outstanding shares. This is the total number of shares. Okay. And you remember we've talked about like companies will hold back some of their shares and don't sell them. Outstanding shares are the shares that are out there in the world being bought and sold and traded. Okay, so that's the total number of shares owned by investors. Market capitalization, or the market cap, is the total value of those shares. So if somebody wanted to buy up, like say all the shares in the company, this would be the total value. Like that's how much it would cost to buy them all. Okay. A traditional stock split, there's two kinds of stock splits. There's the traditional and the reverse. Okay, in a traditional stock split, what happens, okay, first of all, it's proportional. Stock splits have to be proportional. Okay. So in this one, the number of shares increases. Which means that the value of the share goes down. The market cap will always stay the same. And so this is sort of like our two 10s and a 20. Let's say you have a bunch of shares of stock that are worth 20 bucks each, and they do a 2-for-1 stock split. That means for every one share of stock you had before, you now have 2 shares of stock. But those 2 shares of stock are still only worth the $20 that the one was worth. So you have double the shares, same value. A company might do that if it wants to increase people buying up the stock to make it more affordable. It's just one reason somebody might do that. Okay. All right, a reverse stock split is the opposite. It's still proportional. They're always proportional. But it's the opposite. Okay, and in this case, the number of shares decreases. So you have 2 $10 shares, now you only have 1 $20 share. So the value goes up. Again, though, the market cap stays the same. And what this does, the reason companies do this is it increases perceived value. The value stayed the same, right? If you had two $10 shares and you now have 1 $20 share, you only had 20 bucks. But because the 1 share of stock is now worth $20, whereas 1 share of stock before was worth $10, it makes it seem like its value doubled, even though it really didn't. Okay, and this frequently happens with penny stocks, and penny stocks are not, they're not worth a penny. These are stocks that are worth less than $5. And they'll do that with penny stocks to make them seem like they're worth more money. And then what happens in the whenever there's a stock split, it's announced publicly. There's, it's on the news or whatever. But not everybody sees that necessarily. And so maybe you're just like looking and you notice that you know, some company, you know, I don't know, Chickens R Us, doubled their value since yesterday or since 2 days ago when you looked at it last. And you're like, wow, that's really good. I'm going to get in on this before it gets too expensive. So it makes it seem like the stock is worth more money. It's not really, but it just seems that way. Okay, so we have John Deere. They make lawnmowers and lawn tractors and stuff. Okay, they instituted a 2-for-1 stock split. So that means for every 1 share of stock, there are now going to be 2. Okay, before the split, the market share price was $87.68, and the corporation had 1.2 billion shares outstanding. So we want to know, what is the pre-split market cap for John Deere? So we have pre-split. So that equals the number of shares times the market price. Okay, so I have 1.2 billion times $87.68. Which gives me that the market cap is $105.216 billion. Okay, so it was a 2-for-1 split. Okay, and they had 1.2 billion. All right, now I'm going to show you how to do this. With a 2-for-1 split, it's really easy. You just multiply by 2, but sometimes you have weird splits like 5-for-4 or 4-for-5 and things like that. So I'm going to show you how to set up the proportion. Okay, you always want to do the post over the pre. So here I have 2 over 1, x over, I started out with 1.2 billion. So then I cross multiply. So I get x is equal to 2 times 1.2, sorry, 1.2. So that's going to be 2.4 billion. Okay. Like I said, in 2-for-1, you just double it. But this is a nice way to set up the proportion if you have a really weird proportion or weird split. Okay, what was the post-split market price per share? Okay, so if it's a 2-for-1, then the new price is 1 over 2 of the old price. Hold on. Since it's a 2-for-1, what we do is like if this is like A and this is B, it's going to be B over A. So I put the 1 on top and the 2 on the bottom of the old price. Yeah, just this is the how much is the shares, the price of the shares changing. So if I take that, so the new price is equal to 1/2 of 87.68. So it's 43.84. So they did a 2-for-1 split. Your stock used to be worth 87. Now it's worth 43, almost 44. But you have 2 shares, so your money didn't change, right? You still have the 87.68. It's just now you have twice as many stocks. No, this is the price per share. Okay, and the market cap is, I'm going to take that 2.4 billion and I'm going to multiply it by 4384, and what I'm going to get is the exact same thing I got before. Because when you do a stock split, the market cap isn't changing. So we're going to say no, it did not change. Is for any A to B split, A for B, so first number, second number, the number of shares is going to be A over B times the pre-split number. Okay. And the value of the share, the post-split share price, is going to be B over A times the pre-split price. Okay. So whatever these two numbers are, this is the way you set up the ratios. So to find the post-split number, you do A over B times however many there were to begin with. And to find the post-split value, you do B over A times however much they cost to begin with. So here if I have a 1 for 20 reverse stock split, so now they're taking what used to be 20 shares is now 1 share. Okay, yeah. So what I have is for the post-split price. What I'm going to do is going to do B over A, so it's going to be 20 over 1 times the pre-split price, which was 64 cents. So that's going to be $12.80. So that's going to look like your stock is a lot more valuable, right? Because it went from 64 cents to $12.80. So it really didn't change, because it used to be that you had 20 shares that were worth $12.80 altogether, and now only 1 share is worth $12.80. It's like the difference of having, 20 pennies or 2 dimes.
So all 20
That makes it creates the illusion that their stock is growing in value.
So it's just the company that's...
Yeah, it's the company trying to give the world the impression that their stock is more valuable, and that is to increase people wanting to buy their stock, which will actually make their stock more valuable. Does that make sense? So if you're not watching carefully and you don't see that they're going to do a split, you don't see the announcements they're going to do a split, and you're just every once in a while checking this company out, and you see a few days ago it was worth 64 cents and now suddenly it's worth $12.80, that looks like, oh my gosh, this stock is climbing. It's going to be worth, that's like, it went like this on the graph, that looks great. So you might go buy the stock because it looks like it's doing really well. Well, enough people do that, and then the stock actually does increase in value because people are starting to buy it.
And so normally that price thing go up like that would happen.
Right.
If it does, means they did some kind of stuff.
Not always. Sometimes you'll get a really large jump in price, maybe because a company has made an announcement about a new technology or a new product. So, the news can really affect the stock prices. But if the company is about to come out with a brand new product, like let's say, okay, Nintendo hadn't been doing very well. The last thing was what, the 64 or the Cube or something like that. I don't remember. Before the Wii. But it was, like 10 years before they came out with the Wii was their and they were failing against PS, if I say PS, I'm going Photoshop. What does the PS stand for?
PlayStation.
PlayStation, thank you. But you know, they were failing against PlayStation because PlayStation had the PlayStation 2 and then the PlayStation 3, and Xbox had the 360 and everything, and Nintendo's last game system was like the Cube, which wasn't very popular even when it came out. But then they came out with the Wii, and they were the first one to have motion sensitive controllers. Now they make the announcement that the Wii is going to come out before it ever does, right? That happens and people want to get in on their stock because they know their sales are going to increase a lot because the Wii is going to do really well because people are going to want to be able to just swing the controller and do, you know, sword fighting, and you know, kids have been wanting to do that for, you know, ever since video games existed. Actually swing the thing like it's an actual sword. So that kind of an announcement will actually drive the stock up. And then this is what mimics that. This reverse stock split will mimic things like that, where the companies actually, you know, come out with some great new product so it drives the stock up. This mimics that so that when other people look at it without knowing all of the news, they look at that and go, oh, something's happening. The stock price is going up. This company is going to be worth more. Let me buy some of this stock. And then, of course, when that actually happens and enough people jump on board and start buying it, the stock really does increase. Does that make sense? So it's a way for a company to kind of force their stock price to start to go up. Yeah, in a tricky sort of way. Yeah. So then we have that was the post-split price, and we have the post-split numbers of shares. And that is going to be A over B, so we've got 1 over 20, and that's times the number of shares there were to begin with. So now instead of having 580 million shares outstanding, they have 29 million shares outstanding. Like, if you think about it, okay, that was a 1-for-3 split. What if I owned an even number, like owned 40 stock? 40 doesn't divide by 3. So I'm going to end up with a fractional part of the stock. So a fractional part of the sale happens when a split doesn't create even shares. Okay, so if I did a 1-for-3 split, I owned 40 shares of stock. 40 doesn't divide by 3, so I'm going to have a fractional part of a new share. When this happens, the corporations buy up the fractional parts. Okay, so if there was a 1-for-3 split and I had 40 shares, 39 of them will divide evenly by 3 and give me 13 shares, and then I'll have this 1/3 left over. So then the corporation will actually they have to buy that from me, because I'm not allowed, nobody's allowed to own parts of shares of stocks. You own whole shares. You don't own like 1/3 of a share of stock or 1/4 of a share of stock. So the corporation has to purchase all of those, and they have to purchase it at market price. So if the stock was worth, you know, say $6 now since the split, and I have 1/3 of a stock, they have to give me $2 for that. Okay, so an example of that is if Steve owned 942 shares of Graham, there's a 5-for-4 split. I don't know what a splurt is, but that's not what happened. It was a split that was announced. The stock was selling for $56 per share before the split, and we want to know how Steve was financially affected. So what happened to Steve? Okay. Well, first of all, he owned 942, so we want to know what number does he have post-split. So we know from our formulas that's A over B times the pre-split number. So he now owns 1,177 and a half stocks. Okay. His value of his stocks post-split, that's going to be B over A times the pre-split value, which was $56. So they're now worth $44.80. So he had 942, he now has over 1,000. But they're worth a little bit less. Now, they have to buy that half a share, and they have to buy it at the new market price. So that corporation has to pay $22.40 to Steve. And he now owns now stock split is actually a pretty good thing for you. If you think about it, if let's say you owned 1,000 shares, or I'm gonna do smaller. Let's say you had 10 shares of stock. Let's say you had 10 shares of stock worth $20, okay? And let's say they do a 2-for-1 split. Okay. Here are your 10 shares of stock worth $20. That was $200, right? Okay, they do a 2-for-1 split. Now you have 20 shares worth $20. $10. Now you have 20 shares worth $10. You still have $200 worth of stock, right? Well, let's say the stock goes up $5. Okay, just $5. Before, you would have had 10 times 25, so you'd had $250. Wait, I didn't do that right. Okay, yeah, I did. I just multiplied wrong. I forgot that extra zero. Okay, if you only had the original 10 stocks and they had gone up $5, that's only worth $250. But because they did the split and then it goes up $5, you earned an extra $50 than you would have had originally. So stock splits, when they do that, are actually a pretty good thing because you actually make more money faster because you have twice or 3 times as many stocks. So that dollar increase is not actually a $1 increase. It's then a $3 increase or a $2 increase, depending on what the split was. Does that make sense?
I didn't get the 25 and 50.